line here. There's also a lot on the table. And how deep does that hero pool go for Akira?
Most definitely, but now we are coming in to the first draft in a best of 5. Blacklist will have first pick going up against RRQ Akira. This is going to be a good one, Eterna.
Yep, we're going to see Blacklist here on the blue side and RRQ Akira on the red. And already we see these bans coming through. We have the Franco ban, we have the Eve, the Joy also already taken off the board. But on the other side here, RRQ Akira, they opted with the Wanwan and the Kadita ban. So a lot of respect bans on the board so far, and this also leaves open a lot of heroes like the carry that we usually see, like the glue, but unfortunately the glue has been banned away.
Yeah, honestly, everything seems pretty normal here except for that Franco ban. I don't think we've seen a whole lot of Franco bans so far, but definitely, I mean, maybe it's showing what they want to pick here. Maybe something a little divey, maybe even pulling out something different than their normal tankiness and going maybe aggressive with the jungle.
Well, first pickup, it's going to be that carry, what we see often. I mean, teams so far love this carry pick. It's definitely a force to be reckoned with, whoever gets to play it, and very scary in the gold lane. I mean, we saw some even amazing things yesterday in that Echo matchup. So obviously a high priority hero, but they're going to have to trade it for 2 here for RRQ Akira, and there's a lot on the table, right? That Fredrin we've seen pop up a lot, still doesn't have the best win rate, but is definitely a priority choice. You still also have, now in the mid lane, Eve is gone, right? You can take the Farsa if you want to.
The Valentina?
The Valentina is still, you want to see the Benedetta locked in right now?
Yeah, right now.
Well, you get the Valentina for now.
The Valentina and the Yuzong has been secured here for RRQ Akira, signaling to Blacklist that, you know, if you want to have a strong black line, no worries. We have the Yuzong to go in straight with the Way of Dragon and disrupt that. So now Blacklist, though, they have the option to work around that. Try go in for dive heroes, not have too much of a strong backline. This can actually counter the gameplay that RRQ Akira want to bring onto Blacklist.
And not only that, but with the Valentina as well, you know, it definitely changes the whole draft perspective. I can say that Valentina isn't as threatening as she was, you know, 3, 4, 5 months ago. She's a bit more playable, but hold on a second. There it is. Eterna, Blacklist deems RQ worthy tonight. They deem them worthy because the Estes is in there, and Edward picks up the Benedetta.
I like this too, right? The quote there, in all M series, Oheb is ranked 2nd in total kills with 178. In all M series, Oh My Venus was ranked 2nd in total assists with 380. And we learned earlier who was #1. I believe that was Vin, right? Vin was #1. And I mean, with the Estes coming out here, the Benedetta too, this is what we saw in the comparison between the 2 XP laners, right? Edward and Takashi. So it's going to be a showdown. Now, the thing is that interaction, Benedetta, Yuzong, who gets the better value from it throughout the game? That comes down to the players, right? That's what's so exciting about these XP laners.
Depends on the pilot, 100%. It depends on the pilot. But look at this, RRQ Akira, they secured their next hero, and that is going to be the Hayabusa for King himself. So coming into the second phase of the drafts, because the Estes has already been picked up, I wouldn't predict, I wouldn't assume that there would be something like a Kufa ban coming in from Blacklist, but RQ Akira, they're trying to limit that EXP lane because of the Benedetta that still can be flexed, right? The Fredrin is going to be taken out, and there are still a lot of options on the board, but Trex, what do you think Blacklist might be banning away? Maybe the Atlas going against the Estes?
I think maybe really banning into the gold lane, possibly. Trying to limit down Gusta Lagusta could be a possibility. We do still have the Benedetta open. They want to try to give Oheb as good as a game as possible here. We know how strong that carry can carry, right? Now, on the other side, it does seem like Akira maybe wants to focus into Wise here, and they want to maybe limit some of those bulkier heroes in the jungle, especially since they already locked in, you know, the Hayabusa, a bit more of a squishy, someone that can possibly be bullied if that's what Blacklist wants to bring. But it does seem like they're going to ban out that Cho, target Louise here, so maybe switch gears, forget the gold lane. We trust Oheb no matter who they pick. We're going to try to limit down Louise, and we do know Louise can make some big plays happen.
I like this because part of me is wondering, right? You notice this second phase of the draft is going much slower. And something that I'm wondering is, yeah, what do you lock in the jungle for Wise, right? Now, it wouldn't be crazy if Benedetta even appeared in the jungle, but so far, if you want to run with a utility jungler here for Wise, it is possible. And at the same time, you got to keep in mind, you're going to be going against the Hayabusa, right? So does that end up being the assassin matchup? Do they decide to opt for that utility jungle, be a little more tanky, provide yourself the peel, that durability? Because you already know, with Yuzong's across from you, plus the Hayabusa, they're going to be everywhere. They're going to be shooting for the back line, like you mentioned, Eterna. And at the same time, you have to be conscious here of the ultimates that you provide to that Valentina. That's something you always have to keep in mind with this draft. And I feel like that's really why we see this as a slower pace, when sometimes those drafts just happen so quickly. It's really going to be up here to Master Basics, Coach Bonchan, to decide what do we take for these last two picks, and also not playing into that Valentina option.
So Eterna did mention the Atlas earlier, and that is still open for Luis here if they want to lock in the tank first and wait for gold lane. At this point, the side of Blacklist hasn't banded out any gold lane, so in my opinion, I think that might not be a bad pick. But do they want to, so that they can save the jungle for the end? It does look like they're going to lock in that Beatrix for Gusta Lagusta here. I like it. I definitely like it.
All right. Why do you like the Beatrix pick?
You like it because of the win rate?
Well,
Did
no,
you see the win rate?
That is true, but it shreds through some of this tankiness. It can shred through with all the heal that's going to come from Oh My Venus here. It's going to be able to possibly get through that. And if Wise does pick, you know, a signature tanky role for the jungle, they already have an answer locked in, and they do, in turn, bring in that Barats.
Oh, this is a strong front line, right?
Typical Blacklist.
Typical Blacklist. You know, Naisu, maybe you have a better comment about this, right? Because when I look at this, I don't know if RRQ Akira have enough damage to penetrate through this, right? Because the Barrett in itself is already so sustainable, coming in with the healing from Estes.
Like, the great thing here is, now, the carry is, I mean, yes, when you look at the lineup, you think Blacklist International, maybe you interchange this carry with a different marksman pick, but still, it is them, right? It's their signature here. I think what this is going to actually do for RRQ Akira, aside from really limiting these options for Rome, for Luis, is now you have to force yourself to build against all that sustain and, of course, the tankiness. But you guys called this earlier. The Atlas comes out here for the last pick for RRQ Akira.
That was all Eterna who called that pick.
It's typical, right? When you see an Estes, you know that the opponent is going to clump up as 5. So how can you take them down as a whole? The thing that Blacklist did was take out Lolita, which makes sense, right? Because Luis loves the Lolita. He hasn't picked up the Atlas before, so they're playing into that. But now RRQ Akira, they're taking a risk here. They're picking up the Atlas, and every time I see an Atlas pop up on screen, I feel the hype, and I'm so excited to see how exactly they can actually pull this off.
Most definitely now, the coaches have walked off the stage. The crowd is ready. I think everyone around the world right now is ready for this. Now, Naisu, how you feeling about that draft?
I like it, man. And I mean, we're going to be jumping right in here to game number 1 between Blacklist International and RRQ Akira. Who's going to make first blood? It's up to both of these teams for a strong start.
I mean, first up, look at how many purifies that Blacklist has, right? That's got to be 3. We'll see it in just a moment, but this shows that Blacklist, they are going to respect the potential that RRQ Akira has with the Atlas last pick coming through. We have the Purify on Haji, on Oh My Venus, as well as Oheb. So it's not going to be as easy for RRQ Akira now, as they are going to have to calculate on all these spells and their timers.
Oh, right now, already the focus on the top side. It's first blood for Haji, under a minute in.
Yeah, Edward already claiming some dominance in that top side, but honestly, Blacklist did work that into it. We have to watch out for Haji, though, with the rotation of this Farza early on, using that wings by wings. They're going to be trying to make ganks quick. They're going to be trying to make ganks very, very fast, and how that affects RQ Brazil is, since they have King on this Hayabusa, you want to kind of play aggressive early on. And if Blacklist can slow them down in that, if they can take an early on lead, it's going to be a very rough game for them.
It's going to be tough. I completely agree with you here. You can already feel the pressure that has been built by Blacklist here even earlier on. And whenever Blacklist wants to go in, since RRQ Brazil, they're a little bit more reliant on that level 4, the rotation doesn't seem to be as fast, and therefore they're drawing into the tempo that Blacklist initially wants. And here you go, Haji, once again into the top side.
Yeah, he was up there. Takashi looks like he got a couple shots, and he's going to go ahead and recall for now. But you can see, right, how much focus and pressure is being put up in that XP lane. You want to go ahead and give that advantage to Edward the earliest that you can, which has already been done, despite him having that assist there. And yes, Haji grabbing that first blood. Mystery Shop, going to be able to build those burst items that he needs, probably that Clock of Destiny here, and scale. But it looks like RRQ setting their eyes on OHEB here on the bottom side. Shadow Kill going to come out. Turtle is secured, though. Still looking for the kill. The Flicker committed. And they grab the kill, but they trade the Turtle.
Not a terrible trade, honestly. I'm almost on the brink of believing that if you can get that trade, the gold lane for the Turtle, it almost evens out, right? Especially because they need Gusta Lagusta to be ahead right now. And OHEB, you don't want him to just farm for free. I think a big win condition for RRQ Brazil here is going to be get onto OHEB, slow him down as much as possible, and make sure that Gusta Lagusta can get these items in. And speaking of items, we had a little bit of a start there. Did start to see a little bit of penetration coming in for Gusta Lagusta.
Yeah, I think Gusta Lagusta is going to focus on building that BOD next. So a really heavy as well as expensive item, but it is going to give that power spike that we usually see Beatrix have. Now on the opposing side, but wait a minute, here, King goes in.
Yeah, but, you know, again, this is the sustained game here. Blacklist International are going to be just fine with that. That's the question, right? How soon or who builds that anti-sustain item on RRQ Akira here? They're going to need something, right, to work around that. Because you do have multiple options, right? You can go with Dominance Ice if you want. You've got the Blade as well available to you. I mean, there's tons of things. Yeah, and at the same time, Sustain is going to outpace RRQ Akira unless, like you guys mentioned, Gusta Lagusta can get those early items, already running that weapon mastery as well. But Luis, eyes set on the bottom side. There's the Purify though. King gonna come in for the backside, gets the Shadow Kill. Oh my Venus, still gonna survive, and that's exactly what we're talking about. The Sustain is the game.
The potential that RRQ Brazil actually had initially because of the Atlas annihilated, right? They need to be able to find a way to bait out perhaps the Purify from maybe Sagan, and then you can see that Luis can find a huge moment, but once again, Luis.
Edward owing in with the angle, able to secure a kill as Luis falls. Using that Electo final blow and also just getting a bunch of extra gold here.
Can we just talk about the fact that Edward is in the bottom lane right now, in the gold lane, all the way from the top side? This is the problem when you give Edward that Benedetta. He's one of the most proactive EXP laners in, I mean, all of MLB, especially with the movable, with the mobility hero like that. He is all over the map early on already.
I mean, look at the pressure he's already putting there. Takashi, though, Black Dragon form going to come out. It's King that falls. They're still going to be going, though. Haji now focusing on Luis. He's in trouble. Almost didn't even need to get eaten up by Wise as he falls as well. And now it's Gusta Lagusta on the run here. 4 members of Blacklist International going to get cut off by Agent Zero. Grabbing another kill here, going to the hands of Haji.
One by one, they all fall down to the Blacklist International Ube strategy. Haji, OHEB, as well as Oh My Venus, they're being so active on the board, and it makes sense, right? You can see the Farsa already starting to hit that damage power spike because of the emblem she brought in, as you can see here on your screen. That mystery shop is gonna make getting those items way quicker. And right now, it's starting to make a huge problem for RRQ Hoshi. They're already standing at a 5,000 gold lead.
You know, one thing I'm a little bit worried about is King's emblem choice, right? He's not going to get a whole lot of 1v1s here, especially dealing against Blacklist, who we know like to clump up. Now, taking a look at these items, Beatrix has locked in that bot, but wait a second.
You're going to find Edward. Can he escape? It's 4 members. RRQ Akira. Edward survives.
They just can't seal the deal right now. It is starting to become a problem. The survivability right now of Blacklist, even without Oh My Venus around.
Haji. Okay, he gets the flicker out. As we were saying, Trex.
Nothing too major there, but at this point, Blacklist is just controlling the map. I always like to refer to them as more of a rubber band team, but when they do get that advantage early on, it is just trouble for the enemy team because they bring some of these late game heroes like Barat. So if they can get a gold lead on you, like 6K right now, it's just so hard to come back from.
It's hard, but the one thing that I noticed is because Blacklist, they're rotating as 5 most of the time, maybe 3-1 split, Edward goes in a separate lane, they need to still be aware of those side lanes, right? Because previously we saw that RRQ Brazil was able to push that bottom side a little bit, get a little bit of chunk from the tower, and maybe that's how they can work around it.
I do like the fact that Brazil did not try to contest that turtle, right? They know the deficit they're in right now, and I think at this point their only option is to not force fights. Blacklist, I don't think, is going to make any mistakes at all, honestly. And as we're now seeing on the screen, Oh My Venus picked Estes 57 times with 46 wins. That is an 86% win rate.
Wise. Takashi, just like that, they're going to go ahead and grab it and the turret here. This is the discipline of Blacklist International. They also have that massive lead, like you guys were mentioning. And yeah, going back to it, that's an 80% win rate on the Estes here.
It's huge.
Definitely
it's huge.
very, very
and
insane.
it's not something that we're concerned about. Like, we're not surprised because that is Venus's power hero. And at the moment, this is looking just like a clean-cut, well-executed game for Blacklist right now, giving no room for RRQ Akira to breathe at all. I mean, they're taking all the jungles away. They're taking all the buffs away. And the Hayabusa, he needs this buff. It's so difficult for him to play anything on the board, realizing once again, like we mentioned, the high and dry. And because they're rotating together, we haven't seen the positive outcome from it as now. We're going to take a look at the items here 8 minutes in.
Well, I mean, item-wise, it's looking good for Blacklist International. 8K gold lead, like we mentioned, 8 minutes in. Again, it's only been 8 minutes, right? And it's tough. It's a tough situation to be in if you're RRQ Akira here because are you in a position to actually contest the first Lord of the game? Probably not. Should you let it go? Now that's up to them. It's better because you don't have to get wiped out. As you see, Wise using the Daytona's welcome, not going to get fatal linked at all.
You know, so much pressure was on Luis in this game from the very start. We called the Alice pick. He did end up picking it, but right now, with 3 Purifies on the board, Wise with the Daytona's welcome that is pretty much a Purify in itself. I mean, there's just nothing that RRQ Brazil can do right now to make the play happen. It is just spelling trouble all over, and I don't really see a way they can come back.
It's brutal at this point, right? I mean, you can see the only thing that they can do is try and utilize the high mobility of the Hayabusa. Try split the map, try push those side lanes, try and bait Blacklist from going to the opposite side of the map. But even then, it does still feel like Blacklist is already onto this. And so they're responding accordingly with Edward.
I mean, here's the question, right? Most people that have been watching Blacklist International for a while now know that when the Estes is locked in by Oh My Venus, they're going to go to what they're known for, the Ube strat, ultimate bonding experience. Who's usually the hero that counters that? Well, Atlas is a great choice, but when you can't actually utilize that ultimate, the Fatal Links, because there's also, what, 3 Purifies? Make it 4, technically, with Wise on the Barretts. It's really hard to work around that when you don't have the damage for even follow-ups if it's a mishap. So, as you can see already, RRQ Akira going to lose the mid lane here. Actually, they're holding on to it a little bit, but Oheb decides to take it down anyway, even with Lord taken out. And RRQ Akira trying to hold on a little bit longer into this game. It's 10 minutes in. Does Blacklist International go for this bottom side inhibitor? We also have King just clearing up on the top side. The rest of the team defending in the base. You can already see the poke here from Blacklist International. Luis might be looking for an initiation. Gets the Fatal Links off, but gets punished right away as Luis falls. Takashi going to go in, though. King to follow. Gusta La Gusta getting the shutdown, but Saigon has to flicker out. Gets taken out with a double from Moab. And this could very well be it for game number 1. As the minions push into the mid side of Blacklist International, looking to end it before the 11-minute mark. Can RRQ Akira hold on? And it looks like they do for a little bit longer.
I mean, I don't know how much longer. Blacklist are playing extremely aggressive. They know they don't even need to play super disciplined. They can take what they want right here, taking another look at these items. Wait a second, Brazil trying to possibly push out.
The sustain, though. Wise, Daytona's welcome, gonna get eaten up right away. King falls here in the mid lane. Another punish. Just RRQ Akira has no entrance whether it's in the front, whether they're looking from the side angles, the back with Yuzong, it just does not work right now.
Yeah, it just seems like there is not an answer for them. It might be time to start thinking about game 2. I think the only possibility here, like if I really want to play the devil's advocate, is try to get them to use those, purifies with either the Atlas or Takashi on this Yuzong, try to bait out those purifies, and then whoever baited them, the next big CC needs to come in and get them. But that is asking a lot, especially the way Blacklist are playing this. And once either of them goes in, OHEB is so farmed already. He's the second highest gold. No, he's got the second highest damage on the board as we speak. Once they go in, he is shredding them down.
It's hard. It's difficult. I completely agree with you. I would try and bait with Sagan on the Valentina, perhaps with a big play, but even then, it's not possible. They can't look for pickoffs either, and every time King looks for a split push, you see him being taken off the board and giving Blacklist a bigger lead than they already have. And up until this point here, Luis goes for something here.
Oh.
Let's see what they can do. But
another Purify.
there you go, Purify.
Right, that seems to always be the answer. Haji gonna get to half health, healed up right away. Saigon though, going in, not gonna be able to get anything as he falls. Haji to grab the kill. Lord here, 1/4 health. Who's gonna be able to grab it? It's OHEB with the killing spree. King goes in, can't out-retry Wise. Trying to run away from his life, goes back. Oh no! He goes back and gets taken out. 3 fall for RRQ Akira.
The way they were waiting at the shadows. He tries to go back. He sees them all there. He's like, nope, I'm back. And then he's right back at the rest of the team. There was no escape for King there. This could be the end for Blacklist.
It's not looking good whatsoever, as once again, Blacklist going to be pushing this mid lane.
Well, they're going in. Luis, one more effort here. Wise going to eat him up. Lord still being worked on. The Crystal half health. They might just lock it in. Edward finally goes down, though. RRQ Akira still holding on. Feathered Airstrike going to come out, too, but they're pushing it in. A couple hits away, and it's Blacklist International taking first blood.
Blacklist International going to be leading the series here with a 1-0, and now the ball is in RRQ Akira's court. Will they be able to go back into the game with a level head, seeing as that was quite a one-sided game?
You know, here's the thing about drafting against Blacklist is you've been playing all these games against other teams who are playing in the current meta, and you just don't expect to have to ban out a Barats or have to ban out an Estes. I know it's Blacklist, but still, those picks can still catch a team off guard. And I think with that, Blacklist was able to secure that game 1. And right now, the fans are going crazy. Blacklist looking ready as ever for game 2.
Very clean game. I mean, across the board, right? And the return of the Queen at Blacklist International, taking game number 1 here, first blood in the series. And what I honestly, when the SS was locked in, I feel like a lot of us kind of knew what that game was going to look like, right? And that's why the question was, how does RRQ Akira prepare for that in-game? And you have so much time to build that kind of anti-lifesteal. It was great that Gusa Lagusa got an early kill, but still, they couldn't utilize the CC they had and even follow up with any of the damage.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say? When you fall that far behind in gold that early on, there just is no answer. And the battle was definitely legendary, but just to let you know, M4 Battle Night goes live this January 21st. Expect loads of events and rewards up for grabs in-game. First off, complete battle tasks in the game on January 21st to get a skin choice chest. You can choose the skin you like most from the chest. Aside from that, battle bonus awaits you on the same exact day. So play matches and you'll get Team Star for protection for 3 matches, double star raising points, double protection points, double EXP, and double PP for 5 matches. We are not stopping there. Free access to all heroes and loads of epic skins will also be available that very day. So save the date, log in to the game on January 21st, enjoy the match, and win tons of rewards. Let's all celebrate the M4 Championship together, including with your friends.
With your friends.
We're friends now, Eterna.
Aww,
Now,
so we weren't yesterday?
I mean,
All right.
I take a little time. I trust you now.
All right. But you know, going to your point, right? You were saying that they couldn't rely on one CC. So in my head, I was like, why not rely on more than one?
Yeah.
Maybe have Atlas and someone else. like the Grok, maybe, you know? So two things that they could rely on. But let's head straight to the analysis. You know what?
You know,
Take
you
it
know
away.
what you mean.
Analysis.
Blacklist International was just too strong for that game one. Ladies and gentlemen, back in the analyst stands. Thank you, casters, for game one. And boy, oh boy, classic combination by Everats and as well as SS. What's going on there?
Well, Gani, to start, I think the draft is where we should begin. The way that Blacklist set this up, they saw the swing back after they pick up the carry, which is still obviously one of the biggest bogey people in the metagame.
I'm hearing a lot of strange words today.
Yeah. The answer from RRQ AKIRA was the Valentina and the Yuzhong. Again, you answer the carry. But that's where they whipped out the Estes. That's where they brought out the Benedetta. Signature picks for both Oh My Venus and Edward. And what that resulted in was just textbook Blacklist.
I mean, on that note, let's see the item builds as well. I mean, Lafal, game one is just textbook Blacklist. What stands out to you?
Okay, here's the thing. I want to talk about the draft as well, because the way that I analyze the game is I look at the draft and then I look at the gameplay. If the draft is not serviceable, then it's not even worth looking at the
Exactly.
gameplay. Because RRQ AKIRA, the way that they draft is a little bit too honest. They're really showing what they want to do in terms of the first phase of the draft, because they saw the carry and they're like, okay, we got to counter this with the Hayabusa. And here's the thing. Look at the draft from Blacklist. Every single hero that they pick right after RRQ AKIRA's finished their first phase of the draft, it really counters everything else, because you got a lot of bursts on the Hayabusa, but going up against an Estes just by itself is already like almost impossible. And having the Atlas, come on, Blacklist can just pick up the S tier spell, which is the Purify. So right now, RRQ AKIRA, they're kind of like showing their hands a little bit too easy. It's so easy to counter what they want to do.
Yeah, in essence, what RRQ AKIRA did was pick up permanent answers to temporary problems. There's so many ways you can adjust to a lineup, especially if you're playing your game. But here what they did was, all right, here's the obvious answer. Let's pick that up. And I think Coach Cabral can do much better in game two to adjust to that.
Let's talk about the numbers now. I mean, you're right. I mean, composition-wise, drafts-wise, Blacklist has the advantage, and they're all technically in their signature hero as well. But take a look at the damage turret, neutral objectives, all towards the Filipinos. Wow.
Okay, here's the thing. If you look at the damage to the turrets, 855 only for RRQ AKIRA. This shows that they were losing the lane hard. No one was able to actually touch the turrets, so they weren't able to get the extra gold from the shielding, as well as they just couldn't get gold in general. And if we look at the highlights a little bit later, it proves that RRQ AKIRA, they're beaten by every single lane, because even though Sagan has 67% teamfight participation, I didn't really see too much of him.
Yeah, and then the reason why is because, again, Blacklist drafted the lineup wherein Saigon can only really have one ult. He's only really happy to get that Feathered Airstrike. Anything else he gets is worse than a consolation prize. It feels like, oh, we're going to play around that IMU. I feel like we're going to have a bad entry. And then Blacklist just capitalizes, and that's the whole story of the whole match so far.
I mean, game one was a stomp. Brazil, RRQ AKIRA could not have found the answer. Composition-wise, and that Purify, 3 Purifiers was just a little bit too much for AKIRA to handle. Atlas was irrelevant in that game.
I'd say a little too much is the exact word, because they could have afforded 2,
Yeah,
right?
honestly.
Yeah.
No, here's the thing, right? Imagine you're a carry, Atlas comes in, you just Purify, and carries a tank killer. So Atlas, while moving up in the air, it's still sustained to the damage. So carry just like, okay, you come to me, I Purify, I dash back, just with 1 dash, you're half HP, and then that's it, that's GG. So Atlas isn't really the right counter for a hero like Carry, because Carry kind of wants to be dove on because she has very low range. So you come to me, I'm going to Purify you, and I'm going to deal way more damage than what you can afford to go to me.
Yep, so more on the whole draft dynamic, and I think that's where this all fell apart for RRQ AKIRA. You can't go to war without being armed for war. It was so odd for me, honestly, to see first half try to answer what Blacklist was doing. And then the second half, here's where we tried to defend that Atlas pick. they played their game. I had a conversation with Luis and Tekash, and they're playing heroes that they're comfortable with, right? Yu Zhong on Astro Thunder, the Brazilian Heartbreaker playing something like an Atlas. This is good. These are good heroes.
No, I mean, like, it makes sense because as an Atlas, you want to fight against a team that wants to clump up together. When you have the Estes, they will clump up together. But again, Purify is just a little bit too much. They have to find a different way to fight against an Estes, to fight against Blacklist International grouping up.
I mean, personally, right, without even the Purifies, Valentina's not a hero that can just instantly burst if you catch 3, if you catch 2. Whereas, if you pick up Lilia, perhaps a Gagura, you can just insta-resist. But I'm not recommending, I'm just like reading the compositions. But let's talk about MVP here. Who do y'all got? It is gonna be Oh My Venus on the signature Estes.
Oh, of course, once the Queen picks up that signature pick, this is like Kenny Omega doing the Fallen Angel. John Cena with the attitude adjustment. It's Estes on Oh My Venus.
I mean, come on, like 80% win rate. It's not ranked win rate. It's not classic win rate. It's tournament.
Professional play win rate.
Professional
World
play
Championship.
did not die. I think only Oheb died just now. I already can't remember
Oheb,
it.
I think Haji won.
G1s, yeah.
Either way, the Queen does not die.
1013. Take a look at the build as well. It's just standard but hybrid. Enchanted Talisman for spam skills, Oracle, Dreadnought Armor, and Purify to just add more defense on that Atlas.
Given that Blacklist drafted a lineup that has, again, all of the history, signature, their back-to-back championships were won off of these heroes, the Estes and Oh My Venus was just the icing on the cake. The fact that they got their hands on such a hero that makes sure that the Hayabusa doesn't do its job, that the Valentina is going to have an awkward way. Again, didn't even move much, look!
Honestly, I'm agreeing with you. The Estes almost feels like an overkill.
Yeah.
It really does.
Like the triple Purify.
Yeah, again, okay, so let's look at the heat map for a while. And yes, I kind of feel like Oh My Venus in this game is more proactive, more than just seeing what's happening on the heat map. Because there was a part where the gold lane, Oheb was having just a small amount of trouble.
Yeah.
Went down there, actually controlling the minions, making sure that the minions doesn't enter into turret range, so it doesn't die to the turret, so the gold is not wasted. I like this kind of communication between the teams. Like, okay, I lost my lane, I need to recall. Oh My Venus, please, just hold on to my minions. Don't let me get down and farm.
Which I think was a low point in that early game, because that's what we're seeing in the later part of the 5 minutes after Oheb was ambushed by 3 or 4 members of RRQ AKIRA. So that was somewhat of a calibration. That was a reparative rotation by Oh My Venus. But that aside, the Queen was just really there to make sure that the engagements were going to be beneficial, or even just converting into more than just kills. Look, we'll see here in the highlights.
Yeah, I mean, let's see the highlights here from Blacklist. What did Venus do in particular to grab it? I mean, he was everywhere on the map, proactive, covering for teammates, and of course, Edward was just being Edward.
Honestly, I just kind of feel like in this highlight, you just got to see how RRQ AKIRA, they kind of tried, but look at how it's been denied time and time again, because the Hayabusa as an assassin, you kind of want to do very, very well in the early stages of the game, but you can't do well going up against a Baras jungle as well as an Estes roaming around. And looking at how RRQ AKIRA is moving in the map, I kind of feel like going inside the game, they weren't 100% sure what they were supposed to do. Like early stages, okay, we're going to do this, but then mid is like, okay, do we roam? Do we farm?
Exactly.
What do we have to do?
Exactly, and that's where the draft comes into play, right? When you pick your heroes for the first phase, you have to be ready to make up for what's lacking and then have a game plan for when you do hit that power spike. It's so difficult to be RRQ AKIRA here, because I was watching that engagement near that